Horror Deconstruction.
What's up, everybody? It's Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstructions, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Constructions, as well as Twitter at Horror Decon Show with your host Comp and
really fast.
And today's film is
Starry Eyes.
Starry Eyes 2014. It's not actually Starry Eyes 2014. It's the year 2014 that it was made.
Oh, you silly guy.
A hopeful young starlet uncovers the ominous origins of the Hollywood elite and enters into a deadly agreement in exchange for fame and fortune. It's directed by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer. It's written by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer. It stars Alex Esso, Kevin Kolsch, Dennis Widmeyer, Amanda Fuller, Noah Sagan, and a whole bunch of other recognizable folks. So, Danny, why did we choose this movie? Oh,
well, you chose
why did I choose this movie? Yeah, I chose this movie because I saw it had a pretty neat poster, and that's probably the reason why I actually chose it. It's like a very.
It does have a pretty cool poster.
It's a very old school style poster, and it does have a very old school sort of feeling to it when the movie actually begins. It does start out with that Gregorio Moroder or whatever the hell the guy's name is. You know, that kind of Italian '80s vibe to it. Do you agree, or do you call me a fucking liar?
I feel like it had like
feels like 80s synth music. What?
Yeah, but it had a student film but better version.
Yeah, it's so funny because I bet you imagine the director liked that we spoke about it, so we'll see if he likes this review at all. So anyway, this film.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
we'll get into it. We'll get into it. The movie shares. If you want to know what this is like a high budgeted version of Contracted. We'll get into it.
Yeah, I mean, different storyline.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the same type of film, but there's a turn midway where the latter half of the film, which is like the last 45 minutes of the film, feels like the whole hour and a half of Contracted, which makes me think that Contracted could have gotten its story done in 45 minutes now that I watched this film. Because I think this film, I think this film had a lot in it and a lot got done, but in the end, you're kind of like, oh, I wanted to know more than what was given to me. And it's not to be like selfish, but I feel like they didn't cover everything that needed to be covered.
Selfish bastard.
What do you feel
I do like her with a bald head.
Yes.
It's a good look for
her. What would you, besides Contracted, what would you compare this film to? Like, what kind of feeling do you think it had?
I mean, I don't know why, but it did kind of seem student filmy to me, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
I meant movies that are actually out. Like, well, we'll get into the student film feeling. I say there's a whole Rosemary's Baby type of vibe. It's obviously Contracted. I do feel like it has a giallo, like 1970s Italian kind of, woman in distress kind of movie.
There was the parts with the friggin' people reminded me of Martyrs a little bit, actually.
Oh, with the...
like those creepy fucking people.
Okay, so let's start out the film. The film starts out with this character named Sarah, and she's played by Alex Esso, and she is a starving artist, I would say. She works at a kind of a knockoff of Hooters, and...
I liked the guy with the boss.
Yeah, he was...
mustache and everything.
Did you recognize who he was from? He was from Innkeepers. He was unless I'm completely wrong, but he was the guy from Innkeepers, the nerdy kind of friend that was in love with the lead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he was like, he's her boss, and he was like very serious about me. I don't know what the name of the place was offhand. It was like Tater Tots. Yeah, Tater Tots, and it's a knockoff of Hooters. And she works there. She's like wearing like these completely tight, like tight pants and a shirt, and it's to show off the body, and it's very tongue in cheek sort of profession, and she has to do that because she has to work. I did like her portrayal of an actor that is nervous about everything, especially the kind of the freak out that she has a freak out about like forgetting her lines at a
the whole part before it went where it went was making me think like, wow, I like really, really want nothing to do with this world.
Hollywood, yeah, no, because as soon as this movie finished, like to me, this movie is more than about like horror of cults and demons and shit. It's like the horror of insecurity and in a really dog-eat-dog kind of world where you have to sacrifice yourself. Obviously, this movie is about sacrifice and, how it turns a person into, a soulless person in Hollywood. And or how people would like to think Hollywood is, because it obviously is a tough business. I know a bunch of actors. I'm friends with some actors, and as soon as this movie was done, I told this actor friend of mine, I was like, "You have to watch this movie." I was like, "Just watch this movie, just not because you'll learn something from it." But
does their name start with an A?
Yes, it does. You know what I'm talking about. So I told her, I was like, as soon as you, I was like, watch this movie just because it's kind of a niche sort of film where it's a horror film that treads an actor's kind of horror where they have to deal with shit from other people and phonies and stuff like that, especially in the beginning when Sarah's more she's down to earth and she's like a nervous wreck. She yanks her hair out if she doesn't get an audition right. What do you think about the performance of Alex Esso as Sarah?
She's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I had like a kind of like pretty good feeling about this movie. Like every aspect of it was pretty. It
was good, but not great. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like I don't know. There's something that just wasn't quite doing for me with her acting, but still, she is a good actress. I think
her roommate is Amanda Fuller, who plays Tracy. Who she looks a little bit older than her. Actually, she kind of like older. I'm sure I've seen her before, but a lot of these actors, they sort of look like other actors. And I don't think that was done on purpose, but the Tracy character looks like somebody, but I can't think of who. I definitely know the guy who's their director friend who kind of just makes independent films, and he's
what, the guy Dany?
Yeah, Noah Sagan. He's from something for sure. I know I've seen him in a bunch of stuff before, but I just can't picture where it is. There's also what's the name of that super like bitch? Oh my god, she is such a bitch. But she's obviously
the one that is her roommate.
Is it? No. The other girl that is like she's always like putting her down. Like whenever Sarah's like, oh, I'm in this.
Yeah,
movie.
I don't know actually.
I think she's. Sure. I believe that's Fabienne Therese. I can't be too sure, and she plays Erin. I can't be too sure, but she's incredibly gorgeous. That's the only thing where you're like, oh my god, this girl is so gorgeous.
The friend that she goes to the house and
that's Tracy, as her roommate,
and accuses her of having sex with the guy Dany. She's really hot. Is that who you're thinking of?
Yeah, that's her. She's sort of a friend. She has like a gaggle of like 5 friends. There's this one guy who I think is like a French guy who just takes pictures on his old-time camera. There's Dany, who's a director that wants to be friends with him. Her roommate Tracy. There's a blonde girl, I believe is Ashley.
Is that the one who broke her nose?
Yeah, and then she's like laughing when she sees it. That's like it shows how Sarah is kind of off in her own world, and then the more and more she gets into this world of getting more confidence into the Hollywood lifestyle, then she just starts becoming a creep, just like the rest of these people. But these people have no pot to piss in either. And Erin is Erin is like a super bitch that's just like she disregards everything that Sarah does. It made me
not want to go to L.A. Like
I can't imagine living in L.A. anyway. There's plenty of my friends that want to go into Los Angeles because they're actors, and that's like in New York City. There's a whole bunch. Listen, I've been in that phony lifestyle. I've been to the parties where you're like, you just hang out, but then there's nothing there. And that's a different scene. I don't know how it is in Los Angeles. I've never lived there, so I don't know.
Apparently, it's a lot more phony.
Yeah, apparently, I guess that's what it is, because I think the bars close at 2 a.m., maybe? I don't know. But, like in New York, there's a whole scene, obviously, there's whole New Yorkers. But the thing I think about New York is that since it's a city, and Los Angeles, you can't really get anywhere unless you're driving around. And the thing with New York, it's like, and this is probably a whole bunch of bogus shit to make up, but there's trains here, there's buses. You can kind of disappear into the city and become a new person every other week. You know what I mean? While in Los Angeles, you kind of have to keep up relationships with people you would never want to keep relationships with. You probably have to do that here, but with work in New York. You know what I mean? But Los Angeles, it's a whole different beast. And I'm not aware of it. I don't know. But with these characters,
I got a friend who lives there, and
what do they say?
I don't know. I mean, I can't tell if he likes it or not, but he doesn't seem particularly happy. He says he likes it.
So Sarah, we see Sarah deal with all these characters, and she was looking to get to this role. What was the name of the movie that she's trying to get into badly?
Oh, Silver Scream.
Silver Screams, right? Silver Screams. So it's like a horror film.
Silver Screams. Okay.
And she tries out for these two very weird people. What was the name of the company that she's working for? Wasn't it like some sort of
what the hell is it?
It's a very demonic sounding name company. We're very professional with this podcast, so we forget everything that we deal with. It's
what we do.
So there's like a casting director and an assistant, and the assistant, Mark Center, all I could think was that he was like an adult version of Zac Efron or something, with a real like.
Didn't that creepy ass woman that was like doing the audition like remind you of the bad lady from Martyrs?
Yeah, she did actually, and I know I've seen her somewhere too, but the very like snarky, bitchy casting guy. He made me laugh because he was just like such an asshole, and he was just very funny. He was very over the top though. That's the only thing I'll say. But it kind of welcomed it in this film because these characters probably should be all over the top, and she does.
Yeah, I think he was doing it purposefully to like test her or something.
Yeah, so they see her. She doesn't give, I guess, the performance that they really want for the Silver Scream sort of role, whatever this is. It does sound like some sort of knockoff slasher film that she's trying to do the role for. And I've been to casting calls, or where you watching people try out for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never done that.
Well, yeah, no, because I've worked on plays and stuff, so you'll see the actors come in and they'll try it, and it's like it's a very odd situation to be in, where you're
like
judging
it would be
people.
Like the most awkward.
It is.
Thing in the
It
world.
does feel awkward, but you can't show it on your face, because I'll be like sitting there and I'm like, I'm just watching, and there'll be parts where you're like, Jesus Christ, and then other parts like, oh, this is really good. Like I've seen one actor really go for something, and I was like, holy shit, they couldn't do this in public. Like it was that kind of like awkward weirdness. And then you're like, can I get her number later for that? But then like you're watching, and there's other people that's so horrible, and then you'll see them like kissing the director's ass, and you're like, this is kind of sad, you know what I mean? And then you realize this is their life, just like if somebody was to come up to us and we're like artists.
It's like on American Idol, like the audition.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's people giving their all. This is their life. Like they, you know what I mean? How you or I have to, put like paint to paper or something if we're artists. And, the real judgment is when we put our pieces up. These are people that have to go through the process.
That's why I don't even, do it anymore, because I can't fucking deal with this fucking shit.
This is a process of actors actually having to, emote in front of complete strangers and see if their perception of written words is the right way that the director would want it. So, I mean, there's whole different ways to approach a script. And this movie
so deep right now.
Yeah, I know. Right? We're getting into the biz people, but this girl like Sarah is like busting her ass to try to act, and I think the acting is done well. I think she plays a good bad actor, and then a fair enough person that's spiraling where she kind of gets lost. Like towards the latter half of the film when she's like this zombified creature, I think she does really well with it. But I think a lot of that has to do with makeup as well. Like the makeup does really well for her. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So the people from this production company, which I can't for the life of me remember the name, but it's like a satanic sort of ominous name. It almost reminded me of
Demon Come.
It reminded me of Orion Pictures for some reason because it had that similar kind of name, and she chastises herself in the bathroom by tearing her hair out, and one of the casting directors hears it. So she goes and she confronts her about it, and she's like, what did you do back there? Can you do that in front of us? And there's really good artistic, I think, flares with the film. You say it does feel a little bit low budget for you?
Not Astrius Pictures.
Okay, Astrius, right. Okay.
No, it doesn't feel low budget.
You said it feels student filmish.
It just feels like, I don't know, maybe like it wasn't fully edited or something.
Really? What is it about that? What like aspects?
It just feels like it feels like there's like a little bit of like awkwardness. Like maybe the scenes go on like 2 seconds too long, or there's like a little too much silence, or I don't know.
Oh, so you feel it could have been tightened up with the editing?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it is just the editing could have been tightened up a little bit.
Do you think some of the writing has to deal with that, or what?
No, the writing's okay. They did a pretty good realistic portrayal of like a group of friends that are all kind of like in competition but still friends,
Yeah.
Like Yeah, like it's better than Contracted for sure. Like there were scenes in Contracted where I was like, "Oh my god!" Like nothing in this movie made me think that at all.
So we do get to see a sort of supernatural type of casting couch. You know what a casting couch is, right? It's an old phrase. It's an old phrase in Hollywood where actors, they'll sleep with producers and directors. They're kind of moving up the rungs of the Hollywood ladder.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of sleep around
Hollywood Hills.
Okay.
And I'll suck on his dick.
So they kind of.
And I'll get that big roll. Okay, go on.
That's pretty good. You should make that a single. So she has to sleep around. Yeah. Oh, you know what also is funny? Like I should mention it before I forget about it. Is Nick Simmons is Gene Simmons' son. And he acts in this film. He's like, I think he's the guy that takes a piss in the bathroom before he gets killed. Right. He's like some kind of grungy guy that just like appears for one scene. And I was looking on the IMDb, and people are like, "Oh my god, Nick Simmons is in Starry Eyes." Oh my god! And I'm like, the motherfucker's in there for half an hour, like 10 seconds or something.
They probably spent their whole budget
probably,
on that.
Because I think the reason why girls like him, because he's like this kind of tall, gaunt, handsome kind of guy, and he's certainly better looking than his father, I'll tell you that. But he was in that. I think Gene Simmons had a show where it was about him and his family or something for a little while. It's like a reality TV show. But the funnier thing I remember is that Nick Simmons actually, he wanted to get into comic books, so he started, this is a real story, he actually started publishing a comic book, like this company, he only got this comic book done because his father's Gene Simmons, obviously. So he did this comic book, and the art's like really good, it looks like Japanese manga, and I looked at it, and I was like, what's up with this comic book, because there's something about it. So apparently what he did, I don't know if he did the art, or he had somebody working with him, but it was definitely under all his name. I think he traced an actual comic book from Japan and just released the comic like if he wrote it with different
Really?
Yeah, there is a comic book manga in Japan that's probably the number 5 top manga of all time, like at the moment, and it's called Bleach. It's actually
I've heard of that. That's an anime.
That comic is actually famous enough that they actually run the series here in Adult Swim in America. He actually didn't think anybody would notice that he took that comic book and traced over the art and said it was his.
What, he put different words?
Yeah, he'll like change a haircut. But if you look online, if you look up Nick Simmons...
No, but I'm saying, did he change the storyline?
Yeah, he changed the storyline. He would just lift imagery from the comic. So...
That's pretty
Yeah, so then the comic book company had to like quit it, and he didn't even like apologize. He was just kind of like, "Oh, I took it as it influenced me so much." And you look at the art, and it's literally he put a light board, and just put it over the comic book. And I guess nothing happens to him.
That's like pretty fucking shady.
It is very shady. But he got to be in this movie, so that's what Starry Eyes. That's who they hire for these films.
If I did that, like I'd just be like arrested or dead or something. Like. That guy gets away with it because his dad has a long tongue.
That's just something that it upset me very, like, a lot. Because I've maybe, like, I mean, I release art online a lot. I mean, not that anybody in the Tumblr is going to know this, but I remember the one and only time that I actually saw somebody took my artwork and appropriated it for something else. It was shitty art that I did anyway. And they, like, kind of colored it strangely, and I was actually amused by that. I was like, oh, okay. Like, as long as they weren't selling it, I guess. But it was just, to me, that Nick Simmons just pisses me off, that idea that he just took like, the guy who actually make the comic books, he's like, he doesn't give a shit. He goes, oh, I'm interested, he's like, somebody's actually using my art in America. I guess it's a big thing for them.
Right. Well, Japanese people are nicer, probably.
Well, ask the people in China in back then World War II. So we'll see. Anyway, so back to...
Well, yeah, they got nicer after they got that radiation.
Jesus Christ. So anyway, back to this film. So Sarah is dealing with these people. She gets a callback, like in the middle of the night. They tell her to dress sexy, where she meets the producer, who is played by Louis Desissaron. Sorry.
Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah, that guy. He was like, hello, guy.
110%.
So anyway, can you explain who the producer is?
The producer is... like, hopefully what I'll be when I'm older. He's a great guy. He's a genius, really. Like,
what'd you think of his acting? I thought it was kind of shaky, but then I thought it felt like it fit the role. Because at first I was like, what? Why is he acting
I thought
weird?
It was great, actually.
Yeah?
I thought he was the best part of the movie.
Yeah, because he is a very, not over the top, like, wacky, but he's he literally is like a snake in a suit. Like, he literally is like a disgusting, like, creep. Just the way he talks, because he has these pearly white teeth, and just what would you talk about his like timbre and the way he speaks and everything?
He just sounds like an insane person.
Yeah, he does. He would fit world in your writing.
Super creepy grandpa insane.
Yeah,
person.
so he's basically
and that ability. Like if I could come in someone's mouth and make them turn into a demon zombie sort of thing or whatever, I would be so happy.
You know, Danny,
like,
if
the greatest thing.
We should maybe ask some of your ex-girlfriends, because you don't know if that's happened, because you do kind of cut people off, so there might be some zombies.
Yeah, I haven't seen them since.
Who knows what we're carrying?
No, they got reborn bald or something.
I'm pretty sure I got something in my system that'll make somebody bald. Anyway, so he's this producer, and what he happens to do is he tries to casting couch her, and this leaves Sarah. She gets uncomfortable, she runs out, and then she's left with this moral dilemma, like, does she take the brass key to, I never understood the brass key, like, I guess back then in carousels, there used to be a brass key where you could reach out while you're on the horses. I don't know. So anyway, that's some trivia for you guys to figure out on yourself. We try to make people think. So she is...
Yeah, we're all about education.
She tells her roommate this, and then her roommate, I guess not in a bad way, kind of tells the rest of the friends, because she thinks that they're all really her friends. And I don't think Sarah really thinks all those people are her friends, especially that one girl who's a total bitch to her. I think she just feels alone in this world, even with her roommate. She just feels like an alone person. Then she decides, changes her mind, and she goes back to the producer's house, and she ends up having sex with him, I believe, not just oral sex, but... he gives her the demon seed or something.
What a whore.
He gives her a super demonic, sexually transmitted demonic possession. That's what it was.
Super herpes.
Yeah, something, because she wakes up the next day and she is going through the process of basically dying. And it is very much Rosemary's Baby, even though I've never seen that film, but I know the idea of it. It's like cult kind of stuff. There's these men that wear like these masks. It's like Eyes Wide Shut sort of feeling. That's what I felt when I watched that scene. Did
it make you horny?
A little bit. I was just like, blowing that old man.
Oh, whoops. Horny. Okay.
So what did you feel about this second half of the film where it turns?
I mean, it was really good effects. Like the fucking the grave worms that she puked out, like those like earthworms or whatever. That part was like.
And apparently, she really did have all that shit in her mouth. I just read the trivia, so.
Is that real? Oh my god.
Yeah.
So she probably actually was puking then, for real.
I can imagine. What was that City of the Dead kind of thing that we saw where that girl had the guts
City of the Living
Dead. She was actually vomiting stuff out. So I'll give them props that, people have done a lot of shit in film, and but I this is where at this diversion of the film where it goes into sacrifice others. As soon as they were saying that, it felt like Contracted to me, because Contracted would basically explain what Contracted was to people who haven't seen Contracted yet.
Well, basically it's just, I don't remember any deep meaning to it. It was just a girl who like has sex with some random guy at a party and then gets a disease.
Yeah, zombie disease. And the second half of the film, she just starts going berserk and she kills her friends, and that's basically what happens in this film. And that's why.
Yeah, but she kills a lot more people.
Well, in this one, yeah, and it's like way more brutal. In that one, she kind of just like kills her bitch ex-girlfriend, and then she kills like somebody else, a guy I think that wanted to sleep with her, or did she bite his dick or something like that? I forgot. It kind of reminds me of Ginger Snaps. But when that second half started happening here, I was like, wow. I was like, as soon as that, the whole mention of her getting sick and then she's dying because of sex, I was like, this is Contracted all over again. Towards the end, and that's not me saying the director ripped that off. It's just that I saw it in Contracted earlier. And there's another film I can't remember. I think you mentioned to watch it before. I think it was called Thantamorphos or something like that, about the zombie girl.
What is it called?
It was some huge word. It was like Thantamorphos or Thantaformos. It was like you showed me the trailer and I said, oh, this looks like Contracted, but for $5. It was like another zombie movie.
Oh, it was on the list of the
new movies for like 2013 or 2014. And that as soon as that happened in this, I was like, this is Contracted again. And not that it's a bad thing, because Contracted was a pretty interesting film for what it was. Contracted worked almost like if they would have called that like a Day of the Dead prequel, I would have actually liked it more than Day of the Dead. You know what I mean? It would have been like, okay, this would fit good into that kind of film, because at least it's giving some sort of storyline. In here, this is where it feels like where Contracted could have had this movie wrapped up in 45 minutes, just like this movie does, because she starts dying, and it's making her more paranoid about life. And how would you talk about the second half of this film?
Well, I mean, basically, I can't really say what happens exactly, because we don't really know exactly, but it's kind of like you're wondering what the fuck is happening to her, and then that guy contacts her, or she contacts him, and I guess she is now one of them, whatever that means. Like,
it did, for a second there, like, towards the end, it did feel, like, Kill List, with that whole cult thing, too, where they,
Oh, right.
But also Martyrs, you're right, because Martyrs, I don't know if that was more of a cult thing than it was rich people that are looking for answers about death. I don't think that was really a cult thing. I think that was just more like...
Well, that's kind of a cult.
I guess
it's
sort
religious.
of, yeah. Cult of money, I guess. And so towards the end of this film, the girl, she's going berserk because she's so afraid of dying, and she's trying to reach to that... What's the name of the company? Star?
Ario's
film.
Whatever.
And she keeps trying to reach them because she's afraid because, she basically made a decision to sleep with a guy. Astrius. She decides she slept with a guy, and now she realized she's made a decision. Whether this is a movie about morals and, do you decide to stay as an independent artist or sell out, and this is what happens to you? I don't know if that's what...
If this is what happens, I'll just be poor. That's cool.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to come back as a bald, like, super monster with green eyes?
Not if I have to suck an old man's penis.
But you do that anyway. Who cares? It's fun. What stays in Hollywood,
true.
Right? So then she goes back to her quote-unquote friend's apartment, and she decides to kill them each. She slashes the face of that one girl who's been a total asshole to her, and I was like, wow, that was really good. But then I was like, oh, she's like the pretty girl, so she slashed her mouth all the way to her side like a Cheshire grin. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, the gore effects are really good, especially when she smashes in the face of the blonde girl, because you can tell that was quick.
Oh, that was a good one.
That was really
that's
excellent gore. It was like she's smashing the girl's face, and it's done because it's quick cutting, and it doesn't feel like cheap digital blood, where, like, I was just watching parts of, like, some shows on FX, and they decide never to do practical blood for some reason. I guess it's because it stops doing takes. Like,
what, every show, or...
Well, like, you can see it in The Walking Dead and stuff like that. Like, if they don't want to redo shoots, like, if they do one take wrong where somebody gets killed and they have to clean up the clothing because of the blood, they'll just do digital blood effects, and it's, like, horrible looking. Like, you'll see a person there, and it looks like if they photoshopped a gunshot in their face. Like, then you're like, oh, Jesus. And they do that in The Walking Dead. I'm like, come on, who cares? But in this one, like, when she's smashing in the girl's face with, like, a rock, although it was a dummy, it looked awesome.
Right.
It was, like, great gore effects in this movie. When she's stabbing that one guy to death, I think she's stabbing Nick Simmons to death. But she does some good kills here. She kills that guy Dany, who had a crush on her, but he was still sleeping with the other girl. It was it's good gore count at the end, but it's kind of like I knew that was where the movie was going, and I was like, you know what I mean? I still like the movie, but I was kind of like, I saw this already. I already know where this is going. Then I know she's going to die, and she's going to come back as Angelina Jolie. She just sort of reminded you of Angelina Jolie at the end, sort of, where she...
I didn't expect it to end like that. I mean, I knew she was going to come back as something, but I didn't think she'd come back as, like, a sentient, like, demon sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because, like, if she came out and she was, like, a famous actor, like, as far as I've seen, I've never seen an actor that looks like a fucking robot. Like, they could say Tom Cruise acts like a robot, but at least, I don't pay attention enough for that shit. She actually looks like a fucking demon. Like, she's like now 8 feet tall, and she has these lime green eyes. And I mean, who the hell would hire her?
Would her hair grow back?
Huh?
Would her hair grow back?
I don't think so. I think she's just bald for life. The whole analogy of a butterfly from a cocoon thing was going on. Like, the cocoon dies and then the butterfly, emerges. That kind of thing. Or what is a butterfly before there? They're like, what the hell are they called?
Caterpillars.
Caterpillars, right? So she was.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I completely forgot. I blanked out. You don't even know what casting couch is. That's more important than caterpillars. No, caterpillars.
You know what? Caterpillars are the most important thing in the world.
That's true. Once they get big, they can, like, flap their wings as a butterfly and then cause, the butterfly effect, starring Ashton Kutcher. So, so she decides to kill her friends, and then she is reborn in this whole... She actually gets naked. I didn't think she was going to get naked, because there was a whole scene in the beginning where she's supposed to get naked, and then, they do it craftily, which I like that. I like that, I'm fine with naked girls, but I feel sort of bad for actors because I work somewhat outside the business with actors. I feel bad. I'm like, oh my god. But she does get naked at the end, and it's very tasteful. It's not very, messed up. Although I did feel like it felt exploitative when she started making out with that girl at the end. Like, that, I was like, what's this from? Like,
Well, she was biting her face off.
And well, yeah, sort of. But no, I think she was actually just sucking the blood out of her system. And listen, I have no problems with girls kissing each other, right? Just because we have that, we have a third co-host just so we can ask her about kissing girls. You know what I mean? But with this, yeah, it just kind of felt like, well, what's this about? Like, did her roommate like want to kiss her? I don't know what the fuck's going on, but it's.
I mean, she is hot.
Yeah, she is.
Although she wasn't. Well, yeah, no, she wasn't particularly hot with scary green eyes, but I did like the bald head, that little Sinead O'Connor
you're into
look.
that. You're into.
Nice.
You ever heard of Skunk Anansi with the hot like African American chick? I don't know if she's American. Actually, I think she's English. What do you say? African English? I don't know.
I don't. You don't. They're not even necessarily from Africa.
That's what. No, but you know, like I know black people that aren't from Africa, but they call them African Americans around here. What's this racist stuff coming from?
I don't know.
Anyway,
I just call them black.
So is that why you have 2 drinking fountains in your house? You racist son of a bitch. Actually, your mom's a nice lady. But yeah, this film does have a first half where it's more the fear of Hollywood, and then the second half of selling your soul to work in the business. And I think it works as a film, as it works with contract. If you made it a double feature, this is what somebody said on IMDb or something, or some website, and I was like, yeah, that's right.
I think it's a lot better than contract.
Yeah, I think it is better as a film because a lot more stuff is done, and you get to know more characters, and there was a better setup towards the end. Like, although I do think some of the facial effects for the girl in Contracted are a lot better than in this one. Like, I think, you know, her face, the girl's face in Contracted is fucking messed up.
Well, just the whole fucking. That's because it's the entire movie's focus. This movie is like has a plot.
Yeah, so yeah, I think, and I don't mean to disregard Contract because I did like that movie, but I think this film got a lot more done. And there's no, if you saw Contract, you'll understand why we're like comparing the two. But I think this one's good, and I think this guy used to work for Chuck Palahniuk. Because I think, yeah, he Dennis Widmeyer, he runs his official website for Chuck Palahniuk, so I think he got it like partially funded through Kickstarter. So he had like a bunch of, I think Chuck Palahniuk had some of his people help him. So I think that's pretty cool. Anybody who works with Chuck Palahniuk, good for them.
Yeah, is that how you say it? I never know.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm saying it right. I think I got that name off of, I listened to some of the audio books. So I think the way they say Chuck Palahniuk, that's the way I'll say it. But then again, you know, just like with
those audiobooks, sometimes mispronounce
like the Dark
things.
Tower.
The Dark Tower one, the guy pronounces it Cuthbert.
Cuthbert and Cuthbert. I'm okay with either because I know the guy doesn't exist in real life, so I'm fine with that.
No, he exists.
Not after the Battle of what the hell did? Forget it. Anyway, Jericho. There you go. Jericho Hill, guys.
Yeah.
I know my stuff. So with this film, I think it achieves what it needs to, where it's kind of a morality play, and you kind of seeing the corruption of good turning into evil. It has really good gore effects towards the end. I think the acting is pretty good for what it is. I think the producer guy is very good over the top. I think Sarah is okay. She sort of has a shaky beginning, but then I realized she was playing sort of a bad actor in the beginning. So I understand it. All the supporting characters are good. That friend of hers,
super hot girl who gets her face
she's
slashed.
a fucking dick.
Nice.
She's really good at playing a dick. And she wasn't something else. And I realized she was the girl who plays the real asshole character. She was the girl missing an arm in John Dies at the End. The one who, the one whose phantom limb opens up the door. So
cool.
I was like, oh, okay.
Did I think she was hot in that? I probably did.
She was. Yeah, I think we thought she was hot in that too. She's a very, very pretty actress, and this is our attempt to talk to her through.
I want to give her an audition. Yes. I'll probably take the same approach as that producer, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, Danny, what rating would you give this film?
I'm gonna give this film a 7 out of 10. Puking up a bunch of yummy earthworms and then killing your friends.
So 2 trivia things. Alan R. Green, the second assistant director of The Exorcist, plays one of the extras in the cult ceremony scene. Oh boy, I wonder if that's one of the selling points.
Oh my.
And then there was this bar where they actually had to shoot a scene in. I don't remember any bars in the film, but I guess the bar read the script and they said they wouldn't allow it because it was too evil, which makes you think this is complete bullshit trivia. So.
Right.
Yeah, a bar is going to say it's too fucking evil. Meanwhile, they shoot like movies with... who's that gay actress that did The Beaver, the movie? Clarice from the Silence of the Lambs. They did a whole scene where
Jodie Foster.
Yeah, they did a whole movie where she got raped in a bar. I don't think bars really give a shit if a script's evil, honestly.
Well, the bar probably promotes rape. You know what it is?
God.
They're heckling all those girls in the street.
They have a giant poster of Bill Cosby and altar to him when you come in with Jello pudding. He's like, yes. It's like, come to me if you want booze and rape and dolls.
They require all of their bartenders to be women who wear hot sweaters and stuff.
Yes,
like they have to wear like
it's a bar
sweaters.
called Asking for It. Jesus Christ. People, don't rape anybody. For Christ's sakes, fucking be nice to people. God damn.
Boycott the Cosby Show.
Boycott Cosby. And there's some channels that still play, so shame on them. Anyway, 7 out of 10 for me. 7 out of 10 going to go take a leak, and then your girlfriend's face is bashed into the bathroom. Ho, 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 ho. So that, Danny, let's find a word.
Fame and fortune.
The horror deconstruction.